Hello, everyone.
I'm gonna get you, gonna make you fall in love with me. You want more? Yeah, but you never had it better. Way I do it all. I'm gonna get you, gonna make you fall in love with me. You want more? Yeah, but you never had it better. Way I do it all. I'm gonna get you, gonna make you fall in love. Yeah, but you never had it better. Way I do it all. I'm gonna get you, gonna make you fall in love with me. You want more? Yeah, but you never had it better. Way I do it all. I'm gonna get you, gonna make you fall in love with me. You want more? Yeah, but you never had it better. Way I do it all.
And live! Welcome. Night 2, Episode 4, Season 3. Hold my pen, Promptcast. We're here.
Little bundled up, but yes, we're here.
We're here. Am I in the same sweatshirt as I was yesterday? Abso-fucking-lutely. No shame.
Well, my other in the dryer, but it's not warm enough yet.
No
We
shame.
might have.
I crawled
It's
out
a
of bed,
sweatshirt.
sat here.
Izzy, I'm in the wrong spot.
How are you in the wrong spot? I moved. Okay, hold on.
It's bad when everybody points it out. Why is Julie in the bottom?
Oh, because I moved it on the wrong,
I've been grounded. I'm over here in the corner.
Yeah, well, you're in Patrick's spot, so, let's just move some people around.
I mean, let's spice it up. Is that what you're saying?
No.
It's just like this Julie B.
I mean, it's my corner, so does that make my corner the naughty corner?
I'm
Not touching that one with a 10-foot pole and somebody else pole.
Whatever happened to don't put baby in the corner?
Well, technically it's a square. We're all in the fucking corner. We're just not in the right corners.
I mean, if we want to be technical, with Shar not able to attend as often as she would absolutely like to, technically Kesh is in Shar's corner. Bitzer, order is restored. Order is restored.
Apparently it messes with people like, why is Julie in the wrong corner?
How do you know your audience is neurodivergent? They start complaining about the host being in the wrong corner.
The host being in the wrong spot. Yep.
Y'all are awesome. I love it.
I'm always in the right spot just simply because I'm controlling the back end, so I always accept first, which automatically puts me in the one.
Ace!
Ace, oh my god.
I don't care if the penny returns. What? What penny? Who's Penny?
Me? I'm the bad penny?
No! Ace. Hold my pen roasting on an open fire. Izzy drinking to stay warm. Julie doesn't care if the penny returns. And Bitzer is counting like a master. We all know this is going to be an awesome stream. Viewers are dying to hear more. But we all gotta wait. It's gonna be late. Mary mute Mike to all. That is precious. I look, I do not. I don't care if the penny returns, but I have a bunch of them.
They are still legal tender.
They are still legal tender.
You just will not get them back at the store.
Actually, I'm still getting them.
Yeah, we've still
All
got
depends on what
plenty.
store I go to.
No, like our grocery stores here, if you pay in cash, they round down. Like, I know this woman who took a picture of her receipt stuck it on her Facebook profile, right? She bought a single solitary banana. Okay. And after the weighing of it and everything, her bill came to 93 cents. She put a single solitary dollar bill in to pay. It gave her a dime back. So she got 3 cents of that banana for free. But she was trying to say, hey, look, the penny surcharge is already starting. They're overcharging you. I didn't have the heart to tell her
Girl,
that's not how her receipt looked.
Is that how that works?
Thankfully, one of her other friends was like, honey, they gave you 3 extra cents back.
yeah.
Not the other way around.
It's
Math.
amazing.
Math, that's all I gotta say.
All right. Well, you know what? We do have an amazing show waiting for us tonight. We have 6 submitters left for this week, and we have some that have for next week already coming in. And I am so deeply proud of the community we've built and everything like that. Just a little housekeeping before we start. As everybody knows, our voices are not here to train AI. If you can get one to talk Southern, though, I want to hear it. That is mostly just for my fucking amusement. But if we can get one to actually sound Southern and Southern correctly, then yes, I want to hear it. But that's for my amusement, nobody else's. So don't use our stuff. All submissions in that we read out on the show, even though they are anonymous, we are given permission by the author, by their submission, to do that. Also, for submitters, yes, you can remain anonymous as long as you would like. Just let us know. But if you don't come in and at least give us a screen name or a name, we're going to have to start turning down submissions, which we never want to do. We never want to discourage people from being on the show. We don't want to discourage anybody from participating in the show and getting their stuff read out. You can be anonymous as long as you want to be anonymous. That's not the problem. The problem is if you don't give us something to go by to tell that you're a real person, we're going to think that we're being punked and we're going to skip right over the top of that.
There is a level of honesty and trust that we have built around here. And this is Julie's show, okay? And as the person who has been here the longest, assisting with the back end stuff and the doing the stuff, I feel it's almost as much my show as well. We are a team, and we've brought more people on. We brought, Kesh and Patrick and Shar on. We now have 2 new moderators on the Twitch channel. We had several moderators before. Dahlia was a moderator when she can show up and help out. She has those extra mod tools. We have since last night added Bitzer K as another mod for the Twitch channel, as well as Styx, right? Because they're watching the chat far more than we are, and Styx knows all the back end stuff, and they've literally been helping us to moderate without having the tools to do so. So all it was giving them the tools to watch our back. They've proven themselves time and time again. And for the most part, they got the spoons, right? Both of them have the spoons to sit there and watch the chat. Styx cannot be here on Sunday nights, typically, because he has another engagement. But, that's the thing. We are a team. We are a team, and there is a level of trust that we have built up with you, the viewership, the submitters, the prompters. And to hide things from us feels underhanded, feels like you don't trust us. So how can we trust you? How can we trust you that you are not a bot? How can we trust that you are submitting your own stuff? You can say you're submitting your own stuff. Absolutely. You can say that until the cows come home. But the point is, we got to know who you are if we're going to read you out, because we got to trust
Hey,
you.
sorry. And that's the whole thing. We keep a very tight ship around here, and we keep very tight lips on who wishes to always be anonymous. We have authors that have been anonymous since the day I started this show.
Mm-hmm.
They will remain anonymous until they give us permission to not be so. But that doesn't mean that we can't know who you are, because that way we have the way to cross reference in case your stuff shows up on other people's things. How are we supposed to notify anybody? We have to have that ability to notify. Um, and that's just for the safety of your work along with the safety of our show. Um, and
Yeah, Bitzer, that's a lot of it. But this anonymous month has brought some concerns that we were not expecting. You guys jumping in and getting us to 21 submitters in 4 weeks when it took us all 50 episodes last year to get to that point. It's amazing, and we're growing exponentially faster. And so things that we weren't expecting to have to worry about for a year, 2 years, 3 years are happening. And that's thanks to you guys. And we absolutely love you and appreciate you for that. But if you don't trust us, how can we trust you? Matching energies, right? So
right,
Yep.
out there, just kind of putting it out there that if you want to be read out on the show, we got to know who you are.
or at least a screen name. Just
At
a
least
screen
a
name.
screen name, So,
You know, we're not like, okay, we need your like full government name, social security number, birthday. We don't need any of that. A screen name will do,
screen name will
or at least
do.
a pen name.
Mm-hmm. Because the last
But with
thing
that,
we want, and for those of you who found us here on Twitch and are not aware of the culture that we came from over on TikTok, there were shows that did cold reads like we do. And there was stolen work that was presented as somebody else's, and there was AI generated slop. And the shows that inadvertently read it
didn't do
out, their shows died.
yes,
Their shows died, never recovered, ran off to the recesses of the internet, and some of them have not been heard from again. And obviously, we want to keep this show running smoothly, going. We get as much enjoyment and out of it as you guys do. Being introduced to so many new writers, so many people who should have been published decades ago, and we want to keep this going. So you got to trust us to have your back. And if you want to stay completely anonymous from us, that's a problem, because that means that you're not trusting us. So how can we trust you?
right.
Period. I don't like having to be put into a corner where we are taking all of the risk. No. Yeah. I mean, I have literally seen in the past 2 years that we have been doing this show, I have seen how people have progressed in their grammar, their understanding of story crafting to formatting even, right? We know that this is rough draft. We know that. But I've literally seen some people not realize that different speakers need to be in different paragraphs, and they're learning that, and now it's coming in a proper way. We know we're helping. We know we're giving you a platform for your voice. So trust us.
Yes.
Trust us to have your back. That's the whole point of this.
Yep. And
Yeah.
what really tickles my fancy about creating the show and being here, and especially being over here on Twitch, is not just the community we're building. It is watching people who had no idea how good they really are submit and show, even through this anonymous month, show that they have talent, show that they have understanding, and come out of their shells. We have one author that literally started out as anonymous. They chose to create a name, and that's what they go by on this show. And I mentor this person, and I have been on his butt to do it. He saw me do it, and he's like, well, everybody says it's a waste of time. Obviously it's not. He is one of the most renowned, and eventually will be on Izzy's shelf. But I literally stand there and encourage and defend to make this happen. And I do this for everyone. So this is our standings. But enough of the serious, even though that
Absolutely.
had to be done.
Had to be done, had to be said. And we completely blew past our introductions. So for those of you who are just joining us, have stumbled upon us, to my side is our fearless leader, Julie DeFisher, author extraordinaire. This show is her brainchild. I am the designated reader and tech support on the back end, Izzy Krause. Over there, catty corner, underneath Julie, is Cash Butler, my bestie of nearly 3 decades. Yes, she has a key to my home. You know, there's
I
there's
mean, if
things.
we had an extra one, if we had an extra one, you'd have ours. You know that.
Oh, I know
Probably
that.
get it.
I'm not worried about it. You got 3 adults in that house. You're good. I have 2 young adults that sometimes I question. Anywho, we're getting off topic. So the whole point is Kesh is my ride or die, been there with me since the moment she landed at my high school. And I said, that's going to be my friend. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be my best friend. And yeah, she can't get rid of me now. And below me, of course, you've got Julie's Book Talk Dream Bestie, PA Power, our resident bro who's always up here with his moral support, author of several books, and 2 of them that are currently published. One was finished on using prompts from the show. One was completely done with prompts from the show. And there are 2 more that are set and getting ready to be published because the prompts sparked and got him writing. You all are amazing. We also have several old OG prompters in the chat that followed us over from Book Talk. Trisha Jones has finished some books using prompts from the show. We could not do this without you. You guys are giving us the content to create this amazing product. So, that being said, I think we've covered everything else. Also, in the Discord, we had some housekeeping, which freaked Julie out because her computer was going da-ding, 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 da-ding. No longer are the prompts in threads because it was difficult to find. Now they are their own channels. Each year, each season will have a new channel. Yes, I accidentally lost 3 by deleting them, not realizing what I was doing from 2025, but it's fine. It's fine. Whatever.
We have a master list. We're fine.
Well, we don't have the other options that were rolled with that, but it's fine. It is fine. It's no big deal. We're concentrating on 2026 now, ain't we? So, as always, in the writing prompts channel, if you have a prompt, you come across a prompt and you want to share it, you want to put it to the master list, hit us with it. Hit us with it. Once it gets added to the master list, you will see a green check mark as a response. And yeah, we also have our breakout rooms. Those have been moved to their own category. It's labeled personal use or invitation only. What that means is, unless you are invited into that room by someone who needs your feedback or whatnot, don't jump into a room that already has people in it. Those are for instances like if Kesh wants to talk with somebody about her anonymous submission and, she's trying to keep it hush hush. Obviously, she's got to keep it from me, right? Because I do these cold. But she might bounce ideas off of Julie. So if you jump in and they're in the middle of talking about Kesh's anonymous story, now she's exposed which story is hers. So that's it, that they're kind of like little conference rooms off from the main where people can have private meetings. You feel free to use them. Just if one is occupied, please give those people their privacy. And I think we've covered all the changes I did today and last night and the decisions that we've come to. So I think we are ready for our first prompter submission.
Awesome sauce. Oh, yeah, and as we say here, write your own damn story.
Yeah. Don't use somebody else's shit.
I mean, if you like what somebody's done and you want to expand on that, at least go to the author in question and be like, "Hey, are you going to be expanding this or what?" Get permission. All right. Submitter 14.
Okay. This ought to be interesting. All right. We do have an ad happening in about 2 minutes. If you would please, if you do not have a current subscription, would you please sound off in the chat right now? We may take a 5 to 7 minute break. Just, it's cold. It is cold, and as a middle-aged woman who is going through a major midlife stray kids crisis, I'm constantly running to the bathroom. So we may. Commercial.
The ad
ad
ends
copy.
in a little under a minute 20.
Oh, okay. That's what it says. Ad break ends in. Haha. I didn't see that across the top. It said ad break in progress. So give me un momento.
I love Ace's way. It's like, ad, let's be honest, it's a commercial. Yes, we have commercials. Ugh. So how is everybody doing tonight? Are we staying warm? Because that's the most important thing. I know, Ace. I know.
We're trying to quit smoking. Not very hard, but
What?
sorry. Somebody decided to make an ashtray, and I'm like, no, why? We have enough. Hell, there's some hiding in back corners.
I before the cold snap, I went into mom's room first time in a couple of months, and there was about 6 or 7 ashtrays all stacked
Yeah.
on one table in her room, and I'm sitting there like, where the hell did these come from?
Shit, when you've been a smoker longer than every single one of your spawn have been alive, and you inherited a house that was previously owned by your hoarder father, who was also a smoker, you tend to have ashtrays coming out your motherfucking ass. Just saying. We don't need more. All right, here we go. Ready, Freddy. Ad is done. Let's get to submitter 14. The elevator doors were closed when Nadine stepped into the lobby. She stopped short. A sheet of printer paper was taped crookedly across the seam, the edges curling. Out of order. Part on back order. Nadine tipped her head back and stared at the ceiling for a long moment, considering the life choices that had led her here. She opened her eyes to glare up the stairs and exhaled through her nose. Of course, she murmured. 5 floors. She shifted the weight of the bottle in her tote, heavier than it had any right to be, and started up. By the 2nd floor, her calves were complaining. By the 3rd, her shoulder strap had begun to bite. By the 4th, she was sweating and deeply resentful of Darcy's building, gravity, and the human body's general insistence on consequences. Same girls. Topping the stairs at the 5th and final landing, she quietly resented every person who had ever described stairs as good for you. She paused outside Darcy's door, catching her breath, smoothing a hand over her hair like that might undo physics. She stared at her soft sneakers, wiggling her toes. She didn't want to do this. She wanted to wallow in her new blankets in the corner of her room, hiding on her new tatami mat and mattress. She turned to the central staircase and considered crawling down them again. Inside the apartment, she heard a loud thump and a muffled curse. I'm already here, she grumbled and returned to the door, listlessly lifting a hand and knocking half-heartedly. She'll chase me down if I chicken out. Shit! Coming! Darcy called. Door opened to reveal Darcy barefoot, hair half twisted up, blazer gone, blouse unbuttoned and in the process of being shrugged off. Oh my God, Darcy said, eyes widening. I forgot about the elevator. Nadine sagged, leaning against the doorframe. I briefly considered stopping halfway up and just living there. Darcy's face softened and she clucked, Oh, come here, you. She reached for Nadine's arm and tugged gently, steering her inside. Nadine let herself be moved, feet shuffling as Darcy closed the door behind them with her heel. The apartment smelled faintly like citrus cleaner and something warm. Bread, maybe. Or candles. Darcy always had candles going. Shoes, Darcy said automatically, pointing to her own by the wall. Bag on the chair. You look like you fought an MMA match and lost. It was a valiant effort, Nadine said, unlatching her tote and dropping it with a dull thud where her friend indicated. I brought tribute. Darcy eyed the bottle as she plucked it free. Oh, good. I was hoping you'd bring the hard stuff. I debated wine, Nadine admitted, but wine felt optimistic. Darcy snorted, disappearing into the kitchen. Yeah, no. Tonight calls for realism. Nadine followed more slowly, leaning her hip against the counter while Darcy grabbed glasses. She watched Darcy move, efficient, familiar, already shedding the last of her workday like it was a coat she could hang up. So, Darcy said, setting 2 glasses down with a soft clink, you climbed 4 flights of stairs. You brought whiskey. You're vibrating like a live wire. She glanced up, mouth quirking. Whatever you're going to ask, the answer is no. Nadine blinked. Wow. I'm just setting boundaries. I haven't even said anything yet. Darcy poured. You don't have to. I know the look. Nadine wrapped both hands around the glass. It's not a plan. Darcy took a sip from her drink. That's how I know it's bad. Nadine huffed a laugh and picked up her glass, turning it once in her hands. Okay, fine. It's a void where a plan should be. That tracks. Darcy leaned back against the counter, studying her. You always say that right before you drop something weird on my lap. In my defense, Nadine said, lifting the glass, weird follows me. Darcy's expression softened again, not amused this time. I know. Nadine took a sip, winced. Jesus, did this get stronger since the last time I drank it? No, Darcy said. You just needed it more tonight. She tipped her glass toward Nadine. So, are we going to talk about the part where Jeremy is very obviously in love with me, or are you saving that for later? Nadine choked on her drink. Jesus, Darcy. I'm serious. You're smug, Nadine said, squinting at her. That's what you are. Darcy shrugged. I'm observant. Observant would have been mentioning it before I called him, giving him my number. Darcy's mouth twitched. You needed a lawyer. The kind he is, mind you. Not a romantic comedy subplot. That is debatable. Darcy laughed, then sobered just a fraction. You okay with it? Nadine rolled the glass between her palms. I don't know. I think I'm mostly okay not knowing what you two do with your time. Coward. Absolutely. They drank, moving to the sofa, Nadine grabbing the bottle. A beat passed, then another. Darcy said, more gently, You didn't come over here just to interrogate me or sit silently. Nadine sighed. I know. You're allowed to make this about you. I'd rather not. Darcy studied her for a moment. You read the will after Jeremy told you to leave it alone for the weekend. Nadine stilled. I won't spiral. That wasn't my question. I skimmed. Darcy nodded once. Of course you did. I wasn't trying to solve anything, Nadine said quickly. I just wanted to know where the floor was. Darcy reached out and nudged Nadine's knee with her own. You just lost a long relationship and inherited a legal mystery. You're allowed to look at the map. Nadine swallowed. Jamie left me. Yes, Darcy said softly. That happened. Nadine stared into her glass. So what do I do now? Darcy didn't answer. That wasn't rhetorical, Nadine continued. There's usually a next step. I know, Darcy said. That's what's bothering you. Nadine let out a slow breath through her nose. I don't like standing still. You're not standing still, Darcy said. You're just not running. That feels the same. Darcy tipped her head. It isn't. Running is what you do when something's chasing you. And this isn't? Darcy met her gaze. No, this is something you walked into. Nadine frowned. That sounds worse. It's different, Darcy said gently. Out there, you react, you assess, you adapt. This? She gestured loosely at the air. This asks you to choose. Nadine swallowed. I don't know how to choose when I don't know the terrain. Darcy's mouth curved, not quite a smile. Welcome to the part you've been documenting for everyone else. You see the mess, capture it, explain it, but you never do it for yourself. Nadine huffed a quiet laugh. I hate this part. I know, Darcy said. That's why you're bad at it. Damn, calling her out like that? Shit. Then tell me what to do. Tell me what to cut, what to add. Nadine said, her voice quieter now, almost pleading. Her friend snorted. I tell you to stop outsourcing the hard parts. I'm not good at analyzing when I'm in the frame. Darcy shook her head. Because you never are the one in the frame, babe. This isn't copy, Nadine, and I'm not your editor tonight. Nadine blinked, staring down into her glass. Then what are you? Your friend, Darcy said, which means I don't get to decide the narrative for you. I'm usually so aware of what is happening. Just not when it's about you. With other people, she tilted her head gently. You catalog, you contextualize, you move on. Nadine's jaw tightened. This, Darcy continued softer, doesn't move on just because you want it to. You have to do the work first. Nadine sighed. So, I just do it? Darcy reached over and nudged her knee. You do it, and I'll sit here and make sure you don't hurt yourself while flailing. Nadine managed a half smile. Comforting. Darcy lifted her glass. I'm also very observant, remember? You've got this. Eventually. So what's next? Nadine poured herself more whiskey. Darcy took the bottle from her and refilled her own glass. You feel it, and then you choose. Nadine stared at her own, swirling the whiskey like she could stir the answer into existence. I don't even know what I'm choosing yet. Exactly, Darcy said softly. You're waiting for a map that doesn't exist until Monday. Nadine huffed, leaning back against the sofa. I'm not good at waiting. You're spectacular at everything else, Darcy said, shrugging. But this isn't one of those times. There's no action to take, no subject to photograph, no quote to chase, just existence. Nadine pinched the bridge of her nose. Existence is boring. Not for you, Darcy said with a small smile. You just want to do something, anything, You're used to moving the story along. Here you have to sit and feel it. Let it settle. Catalog your own headspace for once. Nadine laughed, but it was brittle. Cataloging my own headspace. I think I've been avoiding that since Mom died. Darcy wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Exactly. And you've been great at helping everyone else deal with theirs. But this time, you're the story, babe. You can't get the answers from outside yourself. I can't finesse what doesn't exist yet. I can only keep you from spiraling off the balcony. Nadine laid her head on Darcy's shoulder. That's comforting in a twisted way. Twisted is the new comforting, Darcy said, raising her glass. Bottom line, you sit, you breathe, you flail if you need to. Monday, we'll see what Jeremy uncovers. Until then, we just exist. Well, I need to do or mull something, Nadine sighed. A moment of restless silence passed, Darcy holding her comfortably. A wicked smile spread across Nadine's face. And I think I just realized what I want to mull. She shifted away from Darcy's grasp, slowly turning her head to look her full in the face. Darcy pulled back. I don't like that look. That's the I'm up to sketchy shit smile. Nadine's smile grew as she tilted her chin down, maintaining eye contact. Oh, definitely. You realize you look like the Joker when you do that. Jeremy. No. Yes, Nadine drawled. He's in love with you. Darcy blinked slowly. And Nadine tilted her chin further, holding Darcy's gaze. It wasn't a look she used often, but it was enough. Darcy stiffened anyway, some animal part of her recognizing the threat before her brain caught up. And you're in love with him, Nadine whispered. Darcy shifted uncomfortably back. And Nadine moved away, grasping the whiskey bottle before it tipped. And we're going to talk about it. Dun dun.
Bitzer, Darcy is the one dating the lawyer, not
Nadine.
Nadine. Nadine
Yeah,
is
it's the friend.
is just the friend. So I know it gets a little confusing there, but no, Nadine isn't the one dating the lawyer.
This author didn't submit last week, so it might be, catching back up, but
we are missing some context because the last accounts we had, she just left the taco joint. I think it was a taco joint. Pretty sure it was a taco joint with the lawyer, and they said that they would get back to him on something. We didn't hear the "don't touch anything" until Monday, I don't think. So yeah, we're missing some context. So yeah,
no,
confuzzled
Jeremy told, if I remember correctly, Jeremy told her, don't worry about this until Monday. I want you to enjoy your weekend. Let me have it, kind of thing. He wanted her to just ignore it. Yes. Yeah, it's that one. Complicated inheritance, 25 pages of legalese. That's the story that one was from.
Yeah. And welcome, Hack Tricks 99. I think that's how that screen name comes across. Welcome to the show.
Right, Luna? And it just got to Luna's comment, good friends call you out when you need to hear it. That's what I'm hearing from all of this. there's this shorthand that the two women have where it's like, we may not understand it, but it makes sense to them. And so I like how Nadine deflected, going, okay, we're not going to sit and talk about me. We're going to sit and talk about you.
That sounds so familiar.
It does.
Very, very much so. Okay.
I have friends that do that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see who's next on the chopping block. Submitter number 4.
All right. All right. This one is called The Last Goodbye. A distant crash woke Eleanor in the middle of the night. Her heart jumped, the kind of sudden alarm that made sleep feel like a fragile thing that could be torn in two. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, bare feet meeting the cold wooden floor, and padded to the window. Moonlight spilled over her yard, painting the frost-tipped grass in silver. There, standing just beyond the swing set, was a figure, still, staring. She froze, breath caught somewhere between curiosity and fear. It was impossible. Yet her eyes traced the shape, and a name formed on her lips. Tom? The figure tilted his head, a slow acknowledgement, like a ghost testing the air for recognition. Eleanor's hands pressed against the glass. Her voice, a whisper, trembled. Tom, is that you? He nodded. Not a shadow, not a projection. Him, her husband. Eleanor backed away from the window, the weight of impossibility pressing down on her chest. Tom had been gone for 4 years, and in a world where death was no longer permanent, he had never returned. Most did, eventually. Friends, relatives, neighbors. But he hadn't, and she had learned to live without him. Or at least, she had convinced herself she had. The sound of a second crash made her spin. The garden gate had given way. Tom was moving toward the house, each step deliberate, measured. Eleanor swallowed hard, feeling the warmth in her throat, a lump forming that wouldn't let her speak. She reached the front door just as he raised his hand. The familiar lines of his face, softened now by absence, stared back at her with something she couldn't quite name. Regret? Relief? Longing? All of it, and none of it, compressed into the quiet gravity of his presence. Whatever you're going to ask, the answer is no, Eleanor snapped before he could speak. Tom froze. His hand lingered in the air as if caught mid-reach. Eleanor. I mean it, she said, stepping back, her fingers brushing the edge of the doorframe. I can't. I can't let you die again. Not now. Not after everything. His lips pressed into a thin line, and he looked away for a moment, down at the frost-kissed grass. When he spoke again, his voice was soft, almost a whisper, carried with the weight of years. I didn't come back to die. Eleanor laughed, bitter and sharp, the sound bouncing against the walls of her small living room. Then why are you here? What could you possibly want after staying away for so long? He lifted his gaze to meet hers again. To say goodbye. Properly. The words hit her like a gust of wind through a cracked window. Properly. Not a fleeting return. Not a brief visit. A goodbye. Her chest tightened. She could feel the panic rising, the old ache of loss, the stubborn refusal to accept that permanence. goodbye, she whispered. After 4 years, you choose now to say goodbye? Yes, he said, stepping closer. His movement was deliberate, careful, as though the very act of crossing the threshold between what had been and what could be required ceremony. I've stayed away because I thought you deserved peace, because I thought I did too. But I can't leave without letting you have this moment. Eleanor shook her head, tears forming even as she tried to resist them. No, you don't get to decide what I deserve. Her words cut off as she saw the faint shimmer in his outline, a subtle glow she had never noticed in life, a residue of the in-between. Death hadn't claimed him, but time away had changed him. He was both here and not, tethered by a choice she had never imagined. He raised a hand again, not to touch, not yet, but in a gesture that felt intimate, a promise. I stayed away for you. I stayed away for me, but it's time for both of us to remember why we lived and why we loved. Eleanor's tears spilled over. She wanted to reach for him, to hold him, to feel the pulse of life that was both familiar and impossibly distant. But she also recoiled, the fear of letting go clawing at her chest. I can't, she whispered, shaking her head. I can't lose you again, not even for a moment. He stepped closer, just staying out of reach. Eleanor, staying away forever doesn't mean forgetting. And coming back doesn't undo what was. But endings have weight. They give meaning. The weight of his words pressed down, heavy and undeniable. Eleanor wanted to argue, wanted to fight against the logic of permanence, the cruel poetry of finality, but something inside her stilled. She could feel the years they had shared, the laughter, the whispered promises in the dark, the quiet mornings sipping coffee together. She could feel it all, suspended in the moment between his presence and absence. He lowered his eyes, and for a long moment neither spoke. Then, in the quiet, Eleanor saw it, the way his hands trembled slightly, the way his eyes glistened under the moonlight, the subtle bend in his posture that spoke of the weight he had carried in the years away. This wasn't the man she had known entirely, but it was him. Entirely. I don't want to hurt you, he said softly. I don't want to leave, but I have to. One last time. Eleanor's hands trembled, brushing against the door frame as though it could anchor her to the world. And if I let you go? She asked, voice breaking. If I finally let you be gone, will I survive that? He smiled faintly, a mixture of sadness and affection. You survived 4 years without me. You can survive this. Maybe it's the only way we truly honor what we had, by letting it end on our terms, not by accident or circumstance. The wind outside picked up, rustling the trees, scattering frost across the yard. The sound seemed to echo the rhythm of her heart, frantic and steady all at once. Eleanor swallowed, tears blurring her vision. She could feel the tug of grief, the ache of desire, the stubborn clutching at memory. And then she felt it, the whisper of something quieter, steadier, acceptance. She took a shaky step forward, then stopped. Her hand hovered over the doorknob. She wanted to touch him, to hold him, but she knew it would undo what this moment demanded. Some goodbyes weren't meant to be softened by physical presence. They were meant to be felt, fully, with every inch of the heart. Tom took the final step, close enough now that she could see the subtle shimmer fading from him, the outline of a man tethered to the choice he had made. He looked at her one last time, and she could see the reflection of their life together in his eyes. The summers in the park, the laughter in the kitchen, the quiet nights beneath shared blankets. I love you, Eleanor, he said, voice low and steady. Always. But it's time. Her tears fell freely now, warm against her cold cheeks. She nodded, barely able to speak. I love you too, she whispered. Always. And then he was gone. The silence left in his wake was profound, heavier than the absence of his presence could have suggested. Eleanor stood alone in the doorway, the cold night pressing against her skin, the wind carrying the faint memory of his voice, his touch, the weight of his choice. She sank to the floor, knees drawn to her chest, and let herself grieve properly. Finally, in this world where death was no longer permanent, where everyone could come back if they wished, she learned that the bravest act wasn't returning. It was choosing to leave, choosing the finality that made life precious. Hours passed. The sky began to lighten with the first hints of dawn, painting the room in soft pinks and golds. Eleanor remained on the floor, a single tear sliding down her cheek. She felt the ache of absence, yes, but also the strange, quiet peace that comes when a story ends the way it was meant to. She stood at last, brushing frost from the windowsill. Outside, the yard was empty, the garden gate swaying slightly from where he had entered. The morning sun caught the tips of the frost, turning them to diamonds, sparkling briefly before melting into the warmth of the day. Eleanor stepped outside, bare feet crunching over the grass. She breathed in deeply, tasting the cold air, the remnants of the night, the memory of him, and she smiled. Not a full, untroubled smile. Grief still lingered, but a small, resolute one. She had said goodbye, properly, and in doing so, she had honored love in a way that permanence could never have allowed. The world would continue as it always did. People would come back, people would leave, and the rhythm of life and death would march on. But Eleanor had learned something timeless. Endings had their place. They gave meaning. They gave love its shape. And sometimes the bravest act of all was letting go. Dun dun dun.
That's heavy.
I can't wait till next week. Honestly, I cannot wait till fucking next week.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, Spencer, that is one. That is the very first mic pop of the night.
Oh, I am Luna. I'm keeping account.
Oh, don't worry. We got to count.
I agree with that bit, sir. Solid oofdom. Ooftonium.
We really do need to get like a uh, an emoji for that, or we'll brainstorm later. Hey, while Izzy is gathering her, Izzy, are you okay?
Oh God.
Yeah, breathe.
I'm reminded of 2 years ago when we were on TikTok and people would come up and read their own stuff, and in 550 words, Trisha broke me, prompting hashtag make Izzy cry, make Izzy feel.
Yeah.
I think we just did it.
That's another one that this is art, but at the same time, art says something. When you're looking at a painting and you're feeling what the artist felt, or it might not even be what they were actually feeling, but it evokes your own emotion inside of it. This piece was about a husband and wife, right? That could be anything. A mother, a father, a best friend, a child, the being able to say goodbye, to have closure, because so often we don't get closure. That just hit something in the feels.
That, yeah.
We don't get that kind of closure in life. We have to be okay with not getting it. We find other ways to function. And
Make our own closure.
sharing stories is one of the ways that we do that, if not for ourselves, but other people. Good. I just apparently needed a good cry tonight. Oh, good. Empathy.
You know,
Ooh, who's our next
Trisha,
victim?
you shouldn't feel bad that you made her cry.
Never feel bad for that. That PSA is still pinned to the top of my thing, of my TikTok profile. Still pinned up
Yep.
there. Because the day that I stop feeling moved by art, whether that be visual, audio, words, is the day I'm not human anymore. And I don't ever want to get to that point. So don't feel bad. I'm not a robot yet. Although Friday I was accused of being a robot.
You really were.
I called this person to do something for work, and they're like, I'm sorry. Are you human? Are you a real person? I couldn't help but laugh. I go, you're not the first person to say that. Apparently, my customer service voice sounds very much AI, but I promise you, flesh and blood. Next thing out of this person's mouth was, if you're not in ad copy, if you're not in some kind of voice work or book narration or something, you should be, because your voice just, I go,
Yeah. And of course, as soon as this happens, Izzy has to text me to tell me, and I'm sitting there like, well, you do help run a show on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Please adjust your times accordingly. Every time Izzy says that, I literally put that in, and then Izzy's like, I can't say that on a recorded line, and I'm sitting there like, no, but I wish you
But it was,
could.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm starting to actually process what she was saying, or what the story was saying.
mm-hmm.
And I'm honestly surprised I'm not a mess right now, because it wasn't that long ago was like the 3-year mark of my dad dying, and there's a lot there that never got said.
nope.
I yelled at my mom X number of hours before she died, and then turned around and told her I was going to call her back, and I never did. I yelled at her because Aries had been up for 3 days because they were in the process of adjusting his meds, and he wasn't sleeping, which means I wasn't sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all got those stories. Of the people up here right now, all three of us have lost a parent. And God damn it, we're way too young to have lost our parents. We've all got those things and those bits. So grief is something that we are familiar with 100%. And you should never feel bad about making us cry, making us feel those things, because that's part of the healing process. And if you're going through something, no matter what,
All right,
don't
door's
think
always
for
open.
1 second that you're putting too much on us. Yes, we do a lot with the show, and we do a lot with our personal lives and our kids and everything else. But if you are a friend who is in need to talk things out, just get them off your chest. Our doors are open, virtually speaking.
Yeah, until the outside warms up to a suitable temperature, my front door will not be open. But guess what? You come, you knock, I make us some coffee, we're good.
Yeah, same. Trisha gets it too. So, okay.
Trisha, everybody get hugs.
Big old virtual hugs. Hug. Sorry, can you tell I've been watching a lot of K-pop videos where they hug the camera?
Hey, can you tell everyone? I leaned forward to get a forehead kiss. You know what kind of videos I've been watching here lately?
Oh, Luna.
Oh. Okay. We've got some more yet, and we got
4.
We got 4 left. It's 9:30 my time. My my watch never came out of sleep mode. What the hell?
All right, let's see who our next participant will be. Smitter 11.
Okay. Okay. Let's lift our spirits a little bit and get on the edge of our seats because this next one is called Dodge. Summer was waning, and there were still at least a dozen unopened boxes, the ones with the knickknacks and the last bits and pieces of the life they'd left behind. As far as Colin saw it, they were junk. And if they didn't end up in the attic, they'd be by the curb sooner or later. He shoved the box away from his door and shut it, looking around the neatly kept room. It didn't feel like home. Not yet. He crossed to the window and pulled the curtains shut, then went to his desk where a bottle of water waited. He bit his bottom lip and unscrewed the top. His breath quickened as he hesitated and hesitated, and then slammed the lid on the desk. It had been 2 weeks, and his mom had done a fantastic job at convincing herself that she hadn't seen what she'd seen. It was a spill. They were stressed out, and the floor was always crooked. Swirling water? Nothing odd about that under the right conditions. Colin sucked in a breath, held it tight, and blew it out between his lips. He grabbed the bottle with one hand and tried to focus on the liquid and how it surged up to the neck with the slightest squeeze. Every day, every chance he had, he tried again, but nothing worked. The only time he saw any change was when he'd stood by the lake one evening while his mom was putting Amelia to bed, and his mind wandered far from the little house to the last days in his old home. His heart ached for the things he said, the hateful words he'd shouted before slamming his door shut. Too stupid to think that it could be the last time he said anything to his dad. Then the scanner went off. He'd thrown the basketball in the air and caught it again, grunting and snarling to himself as the door shut so hard the wall shook. And then he didn't come home. Mayday, 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 his voice called over the radio. Mayday initiated. What's your location? The responder said, calm but hurried. I'm on the 3rd floor. Me and Jackson, back bedroom, windows blocked. Did you locate the missing occupant? Silence followed. Firefighter Jackson. Firefighter Watson, please respond. Did you locate the missing occupant? Then came the chirping of a pass alarm through the radio. We have an active pass on Mayday, 3rd floor, Firefighter Jackson and Firefighter Watson. Rescue 49, south side of the residence. Respond to... Her voice continued, but the crumbling of the roof drowned out what more she had to say. Colin stared into the bottle, still able to feel the sting of the basketball as it bounced up from the pavement, and the catch in his knees as he jumped and made a shot for the hoop. Another miss. He had to get better or he'd never make the cut for the varsity team. He dribbled the ball, walking it down the driveway and back again as the Dodge pulled up alongside the curb. The engine cut, and for a long moment no one got out. Colin paused, holding the ball in place. Then the door popped open, and Chief Thomas Franklin stepped out. His head hung low as he snugly placed his hat over his bald head. He tucked something under his arm and glanced only once in Colin's direction. His frown deepened and his eyes shut for a moment as he made his way to the porch. Colin didn't need to hear what was said to know what came between the rapping of his knuckles on the door and the shrill cry of his mom collapsing to the floor. For days on end, his father's folded uniform sat on the edge of the table, badge on top, burned and smudged. It was all they had left of him, really. There was no open casket. And when he stood dressed in black as they sounded the bells, it was the first time he cried for him. For all the guilt he had about that stupid fight over going out with his friends past curfew. It wasn't even that big of a deal. He would have seen them later, and if he'd not been such a jerk, maybe the last thing he said to him wouldn't have been that he hated him. His eyes closed, and the hurt returned as if it had never left, because no matter how he denied it in the months between the funeral and the boxing of all his belongings, it hadn't left. He choked on a whimper, and then came a pulse, a wave, a vibration. It rattled through him, then through the bottle. His eyes shot open and the water twisted around his hand and wrist like a ribbon. He slowly raised his hand to his face, examining the way it flowed through itself. Both sorrow and mirth swelled in his chest. His laughter pained, but there it was, the water moving in concentric circles as it had on the floor and in the lake. Colin looked back at the window. Had this truly been the cause of the water dancing up in rings from the lapping waves? Did the agony he carried with him manifest in the water? He pulled his fist tight, and the water gripped his wrist in spikes, freezing in place. Shit! He shook his hand, sending the icy barbs flying to the floor. He stared at them in disbelief and then looked over at the bottle of water again. All right, so you like it when I feel something, huh? He shook out his arms and took another deliberate breath, his brow furrowing. He grabbed the bottle and poured it over his desk, soaking his laptop and books, and let it run down to the drawers. If this didn't work, his mom would be the sort of angry only a mother could be over the destruction of his most expensive belongings. He held out his hand, clenching his jaw as he focused on the static of the scanner, the call that came in. A fire, residential, on 3rd and Maple, the door slamming shut, the cut of the edge of the Dodge that Chief Franklin had driven for years, and the ringing silence that lasted forever between the knock and the words he still refused to hear. The water rose from the desk like needles and shot to the ceiling, piercing it with thin, icy darts. Colin gasped as he stepped back. Okay, that was a little much, he half whispered to himself. Let's go a little smaller. He bit his lip and tried to think smaller, tiny even. But the loss of his father wasn't tiny. It was the biggest, most painful thing he'd ever felt, and it vastly eclipsed the half-dozen rejections to junior prom and Mark Anderson getting the Player of the Season award over him, even though he'd rightly deserved it. Mark was just the fortunate nephew of the coach, and they were all hoping he'd get a scholarship for basketball because he wasn't getting into college for his grades. He was dumber than a box of rocks. Colin nodded to himself. Right. Mark. He was the worst teammate he'd ever had, spoiled and full of himself. The fact that everyone loved him and Colin lived as his second best was a constant nightmare. Girls only cared about Colin long enough to get closer to Mark, Mr. Perfectly Paid Off. He didn't deserve the awards he got, or the attention. And if he'd had 2 brain cells, he would have known how much it hurt Colin, the person he called his best friend, when he started dating Brandy after the countless weekends of them talking about it, working him up to ask her out after years of hiding how he felt. He'd stolen the very lines Colin had planned to use, and it swept her away. Watching them kiss in the hall was like a knife twist to the heart. And there it was again, the pulse and pull, a ripple of sensation vibrating through him. The needles in the ceiling trickled down and the droplets hovered in the air. Colin turned his hand over and the water rolled with it. Waving his hand back and forth, the water recollected and danced at his command. Then came the sound of the front door opening and Amelia's hurried steps and squeals as she ran to the living room. Colin, we're home, she shouted. Can you come to help me with groceries? He froze. The water hung in the air, shivering with him. Sure, yeah, I'll be out in a minute. A minute? What are you doing? Her voice was closer. Colin spun on his toes, the water splashing on the floor. Shit, he hissed, then knocked the bottle from the desk. I'm just, The door opened and his mom stared at him as he frantically spun in a circle. Her eyes darted from him to the basketball, to the water, and to the bottle on the floor. She groaned and shook her head. How many times do I have to tell you not to throw that thing inside? You're lucky the mess is on the floor and not the desk. Do you have any idea how expensive laptops are, Colin? Get that cleaned up and help me take care of the groceries. Sorry, he breathed, grabbed his shirt from the laundry basket and tossed it on the spill. His mom scoffed and turned back down the hall. He shoved the shirt around with his foot and then picked it up. It dripped a few times, and for a moment, he wondered if he could pull the water out and send it back into the bottle. His face contorted. Dirty water? Was that what he was reducing himself to working with? Later, he'd try again in the shower. Maybe he'd even sneak out after his mom was in bed and see what he could do with the lake. Oh, before I forget, Chief Franklin is stopping by later with a housewarming gift, his mom called from the kitchen. Colin groaned, trudging down the hall. Great, he said. He missed the move by a month and a half. He had to fix his truck. It broke down again. That thing is a piece of trash. Be nice, Colin, his mom warned, pointing at him with a bunch of carrots. He loves that Dodge, and if your dad was still around, you know it'd be running just fine. Yeah, but he's not, he said with a sneer, grabbing the box of cans from the counter and taking them over to the pantry. Why do we need this many jars of peanut butter? We're on a tight budget. PB&J is on the menu for lunches this year. Colin sighed and opened the pantry door. It had been a long time since they'd been on a single income, and he wasn't looking forward to starting his senior year in a new school with packed lunches of PB&J, apple slices, and a bottle of water. He paused, his hand resting on the door of jar of jam. Bottle of water wasn't the worst thing to have. Maybe the year wouldn't be all that bad. I was thinking, he started slowly, attention shifting to the back door. Maybe later I could, whatever you're going to ask, his mom said, not bothering to look up from the refrigerator. The answer is no. I told you yesterday that we have to get the house cleaned up and the guest room ready. I don't want Chief Franklin here and thinking for a second that he is anything but welcome. Just because things are a little different now, Dad's dead. Colin dropped the heavy box of canned goods on the counter. Things aren't a little different. They're completely different. And seriously, Mom, just call him Tom. It's not like I don't know you're sleeping with him. Before he heard her move, had time to consider apologizing or taking back his words, her hand came across his face in a crack. His mother, red in the face, lips screwed tight, huffed and heaved. Don't you ever talk to me like that again, Colin Watson. Her eyes searched over his face and the swollen marks she'd left. Chief Franklin is a friend, nothing else. And he was there when... Her jaw tensed. Not even she could say it. Sorry, Colin whispered, lowering his head and grabbing a bottle of water on the way out of the kitchen to retreat to his room. She was lying, but he didn't care. At least now he had an excuse for her not to come looking for him, and an even better one if he snuck out, and she did. A mother's guilt was a curse and a blessing. A half smile rose on his lips as he shut his bedroom door and held up the bottle. The water churned as if boiling. His heart raced ahead of his hurt. I can do this, he said to himself. I can control it. Dun, dun, dun. Holy fucking shit! Holy fucking shit! I cannot wait until all of this is in my hands. Oh! Remember how I said a couple weeks ago, give me all the AI voices? I want to try and effect an AI voice, considering I'm accused of it often enough. I also like petulant teenage boys that are intelligent but angry. Give me more. Let me voice them. Let me voice them. Let me voice them. Oh my God. Oh my
And
God.
yes, everybody, I'm fine. For a lot of people who don't know, I am a former former firefighter.
Mhm.
And that is the scariest fucking thing in the world. Of having to be one of the people with the chief to go up and knock on the fucking door and tell their loved ones they didn't make it out.
I mean, we've seen it
So
enough
yeah,
on
that's
television
still
shows and shit like that. And my grandfather was a firefighter. Two of my ex-husbands are former military, and it's that same kind of thing. Julie has a former partner who is in the military, and Kesha's mom was, and that whole thing. As I'm reading it, like, I kind of wanted to stop and ask Julie, "Are you okay?" But I trust that
I
Julie knows how to regulate herself. And worst case scenario, I'll talk to her about it later. But yeah, that was thought up by someone who is very familiar with
yes.
the way that feels and what that looks like and the realism in there. I felt my heart starting to frickin' palpitate. Whew.
Ugh. So now we have a fire, a water,
It was
and
electricity.
electricity. And what was the first one?
First one was Colin.
Okay.
So we're circling back and seeing more of Colin's story.
Okay.
Can't wait to have this in one fell swoop. Oh,
Okay.
God,
Let's
right?
see who's next.
That was so. Oh!
Oh, fuck.
Now what? No.
Number 9.
No. Okay.
Number 9.
Oh, everybody ready to return to high school? Oh. I'm going to make sure I have my inhaler. Hold on. Scene. The hallway outside the gym still hummed with the aftershock of voices raised too sharply, footsteps moving with purpose, and doors shut too hard. While both Reynolds and Tanner's footsteps had gone one direction, their fury had stayed but thick within the walls. Or had stayed put, thick within the walls. Elliot had stepped between them like a human, period at the end of a sentence, calm but unmovable. That had been his only point. But the why, she didn't fully understand. Slipping into her office and shutting the door, she leaned against it until her breathing slowed. She knew she had a target on her back, but had no idea that it was the size of Texas. When she closed her eyes and tried to control her breathing, a wave of anxiety hit her. Her eyes flew open and scanned the room. That's when she had seen it. The folder sitting on her desk. A folder that she kept tucked away in a locked drawer. The file didn't look like much at first. Could have been mistaken for anything. But she knew nothing was ever as it seemed. A manila folder. No markings, no seals, just weight. More than paper should have. She didn't open it right away. Inside, copies, old ones, incident reports, evaluations, a grainy photo she hadn't seen in years. Her. Not as she was now, as she had been. The lake was there in the margins, unnamed but obvious. The woods, too, hinted at in redacted photographs, hinted at in redacted paragraphs and euphemisms. Disorientation, compliance testing, subject response under sensory deprivation. Phase 1, in red, scrawled against the header. The file was thinner than it should have been. That was the first thing she noticed. 20 years, presumed dead, minor, high-profile families, and yet the folder sat light in her hands, like it had been starved. Brown cardstock, faded tab, her name typed cleanly across the front, the name she no longer used. The first page was procedural, dates, times, jurisdiction, missing person, not a homicide, not an abduction, no body. That phrase appeared everywhere, stamped like absolution. She flipped the page. Interview summaries followed, typed, sanitized. Teachers, coaches, parents. No full transcripts, just conclusions. Subjects appeared distraught, but cooperative. No indication of prior conflict. Student was well liked, no known enemies. She exhaled slowly. There it was. The lie everyone agreed to tell. Her fingers tightened as she turned the page. A list of names, some circled, some underlined. Every single one was familiar. She remembered their lockers, their voices, the way some of them wouldn't meet her eyes afterward. Next page, redactions, whole paragraphs blacked out. Not for privacy, for convenience. She could tell by the way the ink bled unevenly, rushed, angry. A note in the margin, handwritten, insufficient evidence to proceed further. No signature, no date. The timeline jumped. 3 days missing. No explanation, no follow-up. She frowned, flipping back. Search efforts summarized in a single paragraph. Local search conducted. Surrounding wooded area cleared. No findings. Case deprioritized. Deprioritized. She let out a short, humorless breath. They stopped looking because it was easier. The final section was thinner still. One last interview, conducted weeks later. Her eyes snagged on the interviewer's name. She stared at it longer than she meant to. He'd been young then. Fresh badge, not yet careful. There were actual quotes this time. Incomplete, messy. They were all there. They said it was a joke. I couldn't get out. The page ended mid-sentence. No continuation, no addendum, just a stamped closure notice clipped to the back. Case status, cold. She closed the file slowly. Not because she was done, but because she couldn't look at it anymore without shaking. They hadn't missed the truth. They had contained it. Everyone had played their part. Everyone had gone home. And the worst part, the part that sat heavy in her chest, was this. No one had ever expected her to come back. She slid the file into her bag, careful, deliberate. Outside the window, the parking lot sat quiet, normal, safe. She knew better now. This wasn't a mystery. It was a pact. This wasn't hers. Someone had left it deliberately for her to find. Her eyes darted from one end of the room to the other to see if anything else had been moved. It hadn't. Not this time, at least. Outside, the bell rang. The sound felt distant, like it was happening underwater. The pep rally was over, and now loud voices shuffled past her office, drowning the fear that crept inside her bones. She found her chair and sat before her legs gave out from the weight of knowing. Knowing someone saw her, knew who she was, and was now baiting her. The office had gone quiet, too quiet for being 20 minutes after dismissal, even on a Friday, game day. The building always felt different when the students were gone, like it was holding its breath, waiting for them to come back and fill it with noise and excuses. She reached for the key, unlocking the bottom drawer, pulling the other file. She reviewed the file the way she did everything else now, carefully, deliberately, as if the paper itself might react if startled. This folder wasn't labeled with a name. It never had been. Dates, locations, redactions so heavy they looked violent. Statements that circled themselves without ever landing anywhere useful. The language of avoidance, presumed, unsubstantiated, no evidence of criminal wrongdoing. No body, no crime. Her fingers paused on the edge of the page. She remembered the night she learned what those words really meant, not as legal terms, but as permission. The case had gone cold before it ever had the chance to burn. She flipped the page. There were others now. Different names, different years, same patterns. Hospital visits labeled accidental. Transfers requested mid-semester. Withdrawals filed quietly, signed by parents who didn't make eye contact when they dropped off paperwork. One student had left town entirely. Another had repeated a grade without explanation. One had died in a single car accident the summer after graduation. She closed the folder. Not coincidence. Never coincidence. They had refined it. A knock sounded at the door. Her spine stiffened before she had time to think. "Whatever you're going to ask," she called, already standing. "The answer is no." There was a beat. Then, "That explains more than you intended." Elliot Mercer stood in the doorway. One shoulder leaned against the frame like he'd been there longer than she'd realized. He didn't look surprised. He rarely did, but there was concern in his eyes. "Dr. Caldwell asked me to drop off the updated schedules," he said, holding them up. "But I think that was just the excuse." "For what?" she asked. He glanced at the closed folder on her desk. Didn't comment on it. Didn't need to. "For you not to be alone with what happened earlier. I may have expressed concern with the way our coaching staff are acting towards the new staff." Something tight shifted in her chest. "You're observant," she said carefully. "I'm a history teacher," he replied. "Occupational hazard." Elliot strolled toward. Sorry, that was chef's kiss of a line there. Elliot strolled toward the desk, setting the papers down, but didn't leave. They stood there, suspended in the quiet. Two people circling the same truth from different angles. "You've noticed the pattern," she said finally. "Yes." And you're not wrong," he said. "But you're also not safe if you think you're the only one who sees it." Her eyes met his. Something old flickered there. Recognition without context. Memory without clarity. "You look like someone who learned too early what silence costs," he added. She said nothing. "That wasn't a question," Elliot continued. "Just an observation." He left before she could respond. She stared at the spot where he just stood. Why? The only word crossing her mind. She gathered her bag then, slipping both the folders inside, and left the school through a side exit. Elliot was there, not blocking her, just present. "Careful tonight," he said, like it was nothing, like they were talking about weather. She paused, staring into his storm-colored eyes like they held answers his tongue wouldn't allow him to say. "Why?" He smiled, faint and unreadable. "Friday night lights have a way of accelerating things." Then he stepped aside, letting her pass, but never taking his eyes off her. She didn't remember driving home. Only the weight of the files still pressed into her bag like it had gained mass the longer it stayed with her. Every red light felt too long. Every reflection in the windshield lingered. By the time she reached her apartment, the sky had already gone dark. Inside, the silence felt earned. She set the bag on the counter and didn't open it again. Didn't need to. The contents had already lodged themselves somewhere deeper than memory. She showered, changed, tried to convince herself that this was just another night. It wasn't. Sleep came in fragments. A distant crash woke her in the middle of the night, metal on metal, a sharp report, then the hollow echo of something heavy striking concrete. Her eyes snapped open. She didn't move at first, just listened. Voices drifted up from the alley below. Laughter. Someone swore. A car door slammed. Then another sound followed. Glass shattering, brittle, and final. Her pulse quickened. She slid out of bed and crossed the room barefoot, careful not to turn on the light. The window overlooked the rear lot, dumpsters, a chain link fence, the yellow wash of a flickering security light. She pushed through the curtain. I'm good. I'm fine. Oh my God. She pushed the curtain aside just enough to see. Someone stood near the dumpsters, still, unhurried, not looking at the mess, looking up at her window. Her breath caught. The light cut across their face just long enough to register a shape, a posture. Familiar in the way nightmares were familiar. Not recognized but known. Her phone vibrated on the nightstand. She flinched hard, breaking eye contact as she turned back toward the room. By the time she looked again, the lot was empty. Only the dumpster rocked slightly, its lid still swaying from the impact. Her phone buzzed again. A text this time. Unknown number. Whatever you're going to ask, the answer is no. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She hadn't typed a word. Outside, somewhere below, a car engine turned over and disappeared into the night. Jordan? Shh! Sorry. A friend of mine's. Anyway. Whew! She locked the windows, then her bedroom door. And for the first time since she had arrived back in this good-for-nothing town, she allowed herself to admit the truth. The past wasn't done with her, and it had just found her address. Morning arrived without ceremony. She woke late, light already spilling through the blinds. The echo of last night still lodged in her chest. Nothing outside suggested urgency. No sirens, no shouting, just the ordinary sounds of a town congratulating itself for surviving another week. She followed her routine carefully. Coffee at home, burnt but serviceable. Toast she forgot about until it went cold. She dressed in layers and checked the locks twice before leaving, telling herself it was habit, not fear. Outside, the air was sharp and bright, too clean. Downtown was already busy. She passed a group of students outside the gas station, backpacks slung low, voices loud with the kind of energy that only came after being chosen. Did you see his face? One girl said, laughing. He thought it was just going to be sprints. He cried, another boy added. Swear to God. That's phase one, someone said, like it explained everything. The counselor kept walking. At the grocery store, two women lingered near the produce, speaking in lowered voices that carried anyway. My niece was on the list, one said. She says it wasn't that bad. That's what they all say, the other replied. At first. She paid and left before she needed anything else. The town spoke in fragments, excitement trimmed with denial, pride wrapped in reassurance. No one used the word hurt. No one said danger. They said tradition, team building, character. And beneath it all, something unspoken pressed forward, waiting. By midday, she found herself at the coffee shop near the square. Not out of desire, but necessity. The quiet hum of it felt safer than the open street. She stood in line, eyes on the menu she already knew by heart. That's still yours? The voice came from behind her. She didn't turn right away. It wasn't fear that stopped her. It was recognition arriving without permission. When she looked back, Elliot Mercer was holding two cups, one extended toward her like an offering he already knew she'd take. Still terrible, he added mildly. Still better than nothing. She accepted it. Thanks, she said. I didn't think you worked weekends. I don't, he replied. I pay attention. They moved to a corner table without discussing it. For a moment, neither spoke. Outside, 2 students passed the window, still wearing their school jackets, heads bent together, grinning. "You've been listening," Elliot said at last. "Yes." "They always talk after phase 1, he continued, loud enough to convince themselves it was fine. She watched the steam rise from her cup. "And phase 2? He met her gaze then, careful, measuring. "Quieter," he said. "By then the town pretends it doesn't hear anything at all." Something in her chest tightened. "You remember," she said. "I remember patterns," Elliot replied. "And I remember you not being here anymore." She stiffened. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said evenly. "Really?" he said, watching her face. "That's not what my file says." Her fingers curled around the cup, careful not to crush it. Across the shop, someone laughed. A spoon clinked against ceramic. Life went on. Elliot lowered his voice. "I won't say anything," he said. "Not yet." "Why?" she asked. "Because if you survived," he answered, "they'll try harder next time." That did it. She looked at him fully then, really looked, and something old stirred, half memory brushing against certainty. "I don't remember you," she finally said when her voice croaked out. "I know," Elliot replied, "but I remember you." They sat there until the coffee cooled. Outside, the town kept smiling, and somewhere beneath it, phase 2 waited.
Do we get extra points on the bingo card if Izzy has to use the inhaler? Asking for the group.
That's a very good question because, she.
We had to get a double hit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I get that feeling too, Luna.
Circle of salt, we need protection. Yes, we would like to know if the inhaler is better or worse than being threatened with duct tape. I don't think she's done yet, so I mean, like, that could go either way.
"I'm getting the skulls."
Oh shit!
Oh,
That's what I'm getting off of this. It's tradition. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know who is in on it. But in this case, the whole fucking town is in on it, right? So the whole of the Ivy League colleges is in on that shit, right? So it's like the skulls, like, oh, And so I'm seeing these darker corners in my head and it's giving me the skulls. And so I'm sitting here like, because I was an impressionable young college aged person when that movie came out. So I'm like, and this particular author has not been letting up. Everything is edge of your fucking seat. So as I'm reading, I'm sitting here and this, frankly, I'm supposed to take 2 puffs when needed. Now, I used it to prevent tonight. So I needed
Yeah.
prevention because we still have some yet to do tonight. But oh my God, just on the edge of my motherfucking seat. Nah, I'm not even sitting.
At least it wasn't the more choppy sentences from last week.
Holy fuck. That seriously, this becomes a whole freaking novel. This becomes a whole thing. I could literally, I don't care how long this book winds up getting. I mean, it could be any of your average sized indie books. But with the amount of tension and the physicality and the movements of it, it could seriously be a movie just like The Skulls, The Faculty, all of those that were around the turn of the century. Oh my God, I can't believe I just aged myself with that, but that's okay. It's fine. All of those new adult, because that's about the time when new adults started to be like a targeted audience in books and um, movies and things like that, because here we were Gen Xers starting to go to college and do these things, and urban legend fucking hell, right? Everything that Paul Walker and Joshua Jackson and James Vanderbeek were fucking in, and I want to say Abby Holmes, but it's not Abby, it's Katie Holmes. All the shit they were doing, that's what this. Okay, I'm fine. Who's our next victim? I mean, submitter.
I will be back.
Okay. I'm just.
12.
Oh, okay. 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 The sirens flashed, distant, then close, and were gone. The lights on the wall flashed by, then left her in a stale silence. A sink dripped in the dark, cool air slipping between the cracks of the window and walls. Nails of rodents skittered behind the plaster before the silence returned. Her hand smoothed down her dress over bone-thin legs. Restraining the shiver in her hands was almost as hard as pushing back the chaos in her head. A violent swirl of dreams that vanished long before she could know they were dreams. Real dreams. Things she could hold on to and believe that she was more than what her father saw. A ballerina. A star tucked behind a galaxy of twinkles that he didn't think were nearly as perfect as her shine. She was gold among silver, and sold the weight of her worth for another night of forgetting the value everyone else put on her. It wasn't anything she had earned, nothing she deserved. Joanna flipped back onto the mattress, watching the fan rotate. Her skin prickled with the stomping of neighbors up the stairs. Everything was loud, and a handful of pills to go up and pills to go down, and the ones that made her head go around and around made every noise worse. When would the world be quiet again? She rolled to her side and stared at the knife by the pillow. Where had she been this time? What had she done that her hands reeked of rubber and asphalt? Her ribs trembled as she breathed. It didn't matter where she had been, what happened while she was away. When the door would open soon, the light in her eyes dimmed. The last time she'd smiled was a lifetime ago when Ken was still there. She frowned, her face scrunching. He left, barely able to stand, and the next thing she heard was that he checked into a hospital, a place she couldn't go. He got clean. Didn't have to be that way. If he had stayed, they could have grown together. They could have gotten better. But then he left. Joanna groaned and rolled onto her face. It wasn't just that he left. The girl, his so-called friend, was the problem. She saw how his eyes lit up any time she called. Joanna was nothing more than a shadow, a cheap imitation of her. Her gut churned with a sickness she tried to keep swallowed. A growl irritated her throat. Her narrow arms pushed her from the stained mattress, and she threw herself to the side, spilling what little food she'd had on the floor. The sour smell curled into her nose as she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. Chunks of half-dissolved capsules dotted the mess. "This is all your fault," she said to the floor, the ghost of Ken lingering somewhere around her. I don't know if I like being in the crazy ex's head. Just FYI. Yeah. Ken and Mia, the cute little that dude, that's the ex-girlfriend that stabbed Ken. Yeah, exactly. We thought this was all nice and sweet. Apparently not. Oh. David rubbed the back of his neck as they looked over the tires. I figured it was safe here, he said, dismissive but honest. Generally, this is a safe place, Ken said, examining the area with the careful precision of his work. I don't think we can say with any real certainty that it was her. Mia folded her arms, shifting from one side to the other. That was almost impossible to believe. When it came to crazy exes, he was the reigning king for having the craziest. Years could pass, and the first time he stopped thinking of her, she came back. Joanna was a phantom that appeared for no reason but to cause problems. Maybe it was a streak of jealousy or unresolved revenge she thought she deserved, but whatever dragged her back, Ken always ended up kicking and screaming and biting back on an anger he'd worked all his life to push away. A cold, quiet rage that led him to a career in investigations. There was never sleep, peace, or sanity when he had his sights on someone who'd done wrong. Her lips parted, sucking in a breath. Whatever you're going to ask, the answer is no, Ken warned, pointing a finger at her. He knew where her thoughts were racing. Under absolutely no circumstances could they use tech or clearances for personal matters. At least not for a second time. The first time came with such a heavy reprimand that it risked her job almost as it risked his, which wasn't something he could afford to lose if he wanted to keep above board and with the lifestyle he had. It took a while, but he'd carved out a future when he'd had none before. Those dark days, trapped in a den of deeds, threatened any life beyond a haze of instant gratification. Ken, she's close, Mia offered. And if she's in trouble, this isn't going to end well. The last thing we should be doing is ignoring this in favor of going on another date. David looked back and forth between them and settled on Mia. So, are you two dating now? We went out last night, Ken offered, leaning down to examine the slash in the rear tire. His fingers skimmed the edge of the rubber. She broke up with me this morning. This morning? David quirked an eyebrow. It's not what you think, Mia snapped. Oh, I think it's exactly what I think. It's not! So you're telling me that you didn't, you know, he bit his bottom lip, making a lewd gesture for what exactly he thought had happened. David! She slapped his arm. That's not. I wouldn't say I didn't try, Ken said quietly, interrupting them. What? They said in unison, their disbelief mirroring each other. I really thought I made it clear last time, he continued, unaware of their attention. You want to run that by me again? Mia blinked, bewildered by the implications. David chuckled and knocked her with his elbow. I bet he'd like to run it through you. Shut up, she hissed in reply.
Damn! Oh my god.
Ken looked over, his hands falling onto his hips. They'd been friends for so long, the three of them, that he shouldn't have been surprised they had fallen into a shoving match. No, he should have expected it. Instead, though, a sort of dull disappointment settled in. They couldn't take anything seriously for 5 minutes. Guys, I'm not saying this was Joanna, but I know after what I said last time, she took it hard, and she holds grudges. I tried my best to be gentle when I told her that she had to get help, but he waved a hand at the tires. This is pretty standard for her when she's at the bottom again. David stopped, his shoulders sinking. You think she's back with that guy? The dealer? Mia's face twisted with concern. He almost killed you both. If I know her, Ken said slowly, she's in trouble. And you wanted to make her jealous, Mia huffed. We can talk about that later, he offered thinly. Not the best pillow talk, David interjected. Not really, Ken agreed. I prefer talking about almost anything else. But to be fair, at that point, talking isn't really the objective. It's more a way to pass the time. Exactly. Can we please refocus? Mia intruded, slapping her hands together. Her face glowed a brilliant red. We can talk about our sex lives literally any other time. David and Ken exchanged sly glances. Mia groaned, throwing her head back. No, not the three of us. Boys, please. We have a crazy woman slashing tires on our hands. I think this would justify surveillance. Don't you think, Ken? That is incredibly illegal. So is stalking and slashing tires. We don't know it was her. Do you think it wasn't? You just said this is her MO. It is, but she's not the only person who could have done this. And it isn't as if I'm the only one with this kind of car and all I'm hearing are excuses, Ken, Mia said, stepping up to him. She tilted her chin, making herself look almost bigger. Though her stare was intent and resolved, his smirk made her heart race and breath come a little too short. She poked a finger into his chest. You can't gamble on this one, and you know it. Darling, he took her hand and raised it to his lips, pressing a kiss against her fingers. I don't gamble on anything. David rolled his eyes. And this is why I hate when my friends start dating. We're not dating, Mia said, a bit too quietly, her gaze unable to pull from his as he traced her face. It wasn't the right time. But their date had been interrupted, and she hadn't exactly had an end of date goodnight kiss. Maybe the issue was that it was morning. Yes, we are, Ken whispered, leaning in. Not to sound stupid, David said, mostly to himself as he cocked his head, looking down the length of the parking garage, his back to them. But do you think those cameras work? He pointed to the domes mounted along the ceiling. If they do, I bet we could get the footage if we. He turned around, his face falling. Can you two not do that right now? Pulling away like teenagers caught in the act, Mia's eyes grew round and her face redder than ever. Her lips, slightly swollen, managed to part as she fumbled for words. I don't know what you're talking about. There! He flung a hand in the general direction. There are a ton of cameras in here. If we check them, I bet we find her. Mia blinked wildly. That was a good idea, coming from someone who rarely had two coherent thoughts to rub together. I could probably access those through a back channel. I wouldn't even need a warrant or anything. I bet it's an unsecured network. Most cameras are like that are, you know. She flipped her head back to look up at Ken for approval. He smiled, kissed her forehead, and slipped his arm around her waist. I owe you a real date, sweetheart. We were on a real date, old man, she teased. I really hate you two, David grumbled. At this rate, they weren't going to figure anything out. Where did you get this knife? He huffed, sweat beading down his forehead and shoulders. Every strike against the punching bag was like glass breaking. Joanna cringed as he punched again. He grunted and paused, turning to her. Did you steal it? I don't know. Her arms wrapped tighter around her knees. The mattress whined under the weight of her shifting. He stopped, staring at her a moment. His head tilted up to the side. His blonde hair fell into the tacky sweat of his forehead. Hey, pick your head up, princess. You didn't mean to forget, did you? She slowly shook her head. That's right. You didn't mean to forget, he said, strutting over with more confidence than he'd ever earned. His hand reached out, stroking her hair and cupping her face. If you did, that would mean you remembered something. Isn't that right? I don't remember anything, she rasped, eyes turned from him. His hand snapped into a fist in her hair, tight to her scalp, and yanked her head back to look him in the face. You don't remember anything, so there is nothing to forget because nothing happened. Now get rid of that fucking knife. Andrew, she gasped, her hands flying to his wrist. Please stop. Take off that dress, he ordered, throwing her down on the mattress. You look like a cheap whore. No sister of mine is going to walk around in public like that. I don't like the suit. He snatched the blade from where it had sat beside the pillow and held it toward her. You're going to get dressed and look at least half decent, or I'll cut the hideous fucking thing off you myself. You're not going to ruin my reputation like this. Andrew, please, I'm sorry, I just needed another high, he sneered, curling his lip and turning away. And if you keep fucking this up, Mia will know that I found her and her little boy toy. I told her she'd regret leaving me. Joanna wrapped her arms around her body, tears collected in her lashes. She remembered. And if he knew what she'd done, she'd be the tires she'd slash. And Andrew wouldn't even care. He never did when it came to reminding her that she needed him. He was her dealer, after all. Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
So the whole family's lost kilter. Is that what we get from that?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Now I fucking feel sorry for crazy Joanna.
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
God. Yeah. I thought this was going to be a cute little rom-com, friends to lovers with a crazy ex.
No.
No, now we got two crazy exes.
Who happen
And
to be brother and sister.
yeah, who is also her dealer.
But then also Mia must have dated this guy, and like either there's another ex running around that is an issue, or a different dealer that is an issue.
Well, no, because he blatantly says Mia will know I'm here.
Right. But in the conversation between Mia, Ken, and David, somebody said, you don't think she's back with that one guy.
So they might not know that this dude's her brother and not her. Yeah. Hi, Stormy.
So if this Andrew is Mia's ex, but also Joanna's dealer, and responsible for possibly killing or nearly killing Joanna and Ken, but Mia doesn't know that Andrew's that guy. Like, oh my God, I thought this was going to be a cute little rom-com that I could just like snuggle into. Nope, nope, nope.
This is like telenovela. Like,
Yes.
But like the danger level's like way higher.
Oh. Unless they never saw Joanna's dealer who nearly got Joanna and Ken killed, unless they never knew the identity of said dealer way back when. And it just so happens that it's also Mia's ex that they didn't know was Joanna's brother. Like,
Right. And
there's some convoluted telenovela Days of Our Lives fucking bullshit around here.
right. And it might be even where, Mia wasn't with the guy that long, saw the freaking red flags, got her ass out.
Maybe.
So he was never introduced to the friends.
Maybe. Yeah. Doc, where's the twin brother? Oh my God, I thought you were dead. My brother is dead. I'm his twin. Days of Our Lives. Port Charles General Hospital. They want their plot line back.
All right. Here we go.
Surprise twins.
Oh my.
Yay! Number 16. Submitter 16.
Okay. The wind carried the smell of rain through the cloud-swollen sky. Maxime looked towards the grayness, watching as yellow lightning caressed the underside of the clouds. He wished he felt the nothingness of grief, the numbness of it, but anger and resentment weighed him down. All right, pause. Y'all have got me on a roller coaster of emotions this week, and intensity and the Look, the Iron Dragon is literally my favorite roller coaster of the fucking universe because I've only been on it, every single time I've ever been to Cedar Point, but that's besides the point. The point is I don't need every weekend to be an emotional Iron Dragon where my feet are dangling over the edge and the catfish. Let me try this again. He gripped his chest at the ache in his heart, his constant companion for the last 3 months. On top of that, there were the failing task delegations, heavier guard patrols, rationing of winter resources, new blood entering the fold, either through proper induction or looking for sanctuary. It never fucking stops. Even so, the aching was still the worst of it. Maxime closed his eyes as a gust of mountain wind skated over his face. Goosebumps raised across his skin beneath his black tuxedo, but the feeling wasn't comfort. It was trepidation about Dual Claw's uncertain future. He bowed his head until his forehead touched the icy length of the railing that ensconced the large outdoor balcony of the communion house. Not much for the festivities either, a husky voice rumbled. Claren's question pulled Maxim from his seclusion, reminding him of the colony's solstice celebration. His grimace was automatic, but he swallowed it down before turning to meet the other man's shaded eyes. No, but the colony needs it. Claren tipped his diamond-patterned glass to his mouth, a small amount of the amber liquid disappearing down his throat. His mocha complexion was striking against the sky's gray backdrop, and his midnight blue suit fit him like a second skin. A frown left a firm crease in his lips. You know, Max, you can't keep carrying things alone. Shouldn't. Maxime held up a hand to belay Claren's words while pinching the bridge of his nose. He released a heavy sigh, a plume of smoke rushing from his lips. I already know what you're going to ask. Claren had broached this subject too many times over the last few months, and it never failed to piss Maxime off. Silently counting backwards from 10, ignoring Claren's scowl, Maxim countered, We will not discuss this now. 4 months. Clan. 4. That's how long we wait to discuss leadership business. That's how long the mourning period lasts. His heart pounded in his chest, doubling the ache. Except under extenuating circumstances, and dissenters in the colony, thinning of rations, and the threat of total colonial collapse due to unstable leadership definitely fall under the category of extenuating. Ancient ones preserve me, Maxime breathed, knowing Claren's words to be true. Crossing his chest with his arms, Maxime met Claren's unyielding, unseen glare. The 15th of January. Give the colony that long and then present your case. Give the colony that time or give it to you. A thick undercurrent of impatience laced the question. A thunderclap shook the mountainside. A wave of diluted alcohol ensnared Maxime's nose and taste buds from Claren's snarl. Maxime's lungs almost vibrated with the force of his held breath, but he kept himself steady. Keep it together. Stepping toe-to-toe against the taller cheetah shifter, Maxime rolled his shoulders back. Our law stands, brother. We're holding firm right now. Recklessness, attempts at self-aggrandizing, and ego will hinder our progress, as well as serve to further divide us. We can't afford either of those missteps. Claren squeezed his glass until small cracks appeared. With a single breath, he released the tension without shattering the fragile object. Maxime was unfazed by the show of minor hostility, but he was just as intimate with the frustration behind it. We need it. We need each other, Clan. Your strategies and tact, your fearlessness and adaptability have gotten us this far, and we can't continue without you. Claren swallowed thickly, the trembling glass threatening to spill its contents. Lifting his hands in surrender, he bowed and stepped back. All right then, brother. The 15th. I'm not going anywhere, and we stay united. Maxime headed for inside, the conversation having left him more wounded than he cared to admit. However, with his hand wrapped around the knob of the balcony door, he was stopped by Claren's warning. You'd best let it out before the new moon, Max. That grief. Otherwise it'll eat you and your jag up from the inside out. The first drop of rain collided with the ground at last, sounding almost like an artillery round. With an unsteady breath, Maxime escaped into the jovial noise of the communion house. Splashing ice cold water on his face in the bathroom sink, Maxime surveyed his bedraggled reflection. He didn't think his dark complexion could look so sallow or that his gray green eyes could get any paler. But here he was. The harsh white lights overhead did him further disservice by highlighting the drooping bags grooved underneath his lower lids. One more week until your jaguar can run free under the new moon. Just hang on a little longer. The faucet was turned off, and Maxime dried his face on a clean towel. Just keep it together. Easing from the bathroom, Maxime's gaze traced the holly in wreaths above the balcony doors, the dark blue carpet that was rolled over the wooden floor specifically for the solstice. Streams of blue and white tinsel dangled from the ceiling, and small faux ice sculptures of snowflakes, Yule logs, and olive branches adorned the middle of each table, one sculpture per table. It was packed, every table maxing out at 6 members. Despite it being close to 11 p.m., there were quite a few little ones scampering around, chasing one another, playing hide and seek underneath the shimmering blue and sparkling white tablecloths. The sight was the tiniest star glimmering in a sea of night for Maxime. Continuing his perusal, Maxime spied a white piano, as it always was, tucked away into one corner. Tyrus, leading war general, was drunkenly mashing keys in an effort to keep Ira, a soft, Rubenesque woman, on his lap, laughing. Tyrus was a fabled giant made flesh, with fiery red hair streaking down his back. He had more scars than an overused vinyl record, and the heart of a lion, especially because that was his animal companion. Ira seemed to agree with whatever was being said as she nodded and continuously ran her eager hands over Tyrus's bulging biceps. Maxime shook his head, a smile wanting to crack through his emotional armor. Instead, he plugged his overly sensitive ears with fresh earplugs, which dulled most of the rancorous party without hindering close conversations. This happiness, this relief, should have been infectious, spreading to every attending member. Ancients knew they all needed it. So why can't I relax just for one night? Maxime felt as though there were an ever-tightening chain choking him, and no one was here to save him. Gotta get into the office. No sooner than the thought appeared, there was a tap on his shoulder. Swallowing down his expletive and stifling his immediate groan, Maxime plastered the facsimile of a smile on his lips. A bit of his trepidation eased away when he met the bespectacled green gaze of Corin. Her painted blue lips were a shy smile, and a pink flush dusted her hazel cheeks, highlighting her freckles. Excuse me, Maxim, sir. I have reports about the supplies and the guard patrol updates. She rifled through a stack of papers she was carrying. Handing them off, she made sure to meet his gaze straight on. Maxime's apprehension took a brief leave of absence at the young wolf. She was eager to learn and straightforward. Had it not been for Claren, Corin wouldn't be a part of the colony. If only Claren could have saved. Maxime cleared his throat as he accepted the papers with a wan smile. Thank you. Our neighboring pack, Twin Howlings, sends their gratitude and condolences. Her eyes lined with tears, but she blinked them away, a small sniffle finding its way out. She shook her head to clear it. Corin, it's okay. Maxim reached a hand out to pat her shoulder, but retracted it when she flinched. Apologies, Mr. Maxime. Mr. Claren has been helping me adjust. Another blushing coat painted her cheeks. Maxime took silent note of her reactions, intending to ask for an explanation from Claren later. No one, except Claren and Corin, knew what happened that day. and neither would say. He let it go with a single breath. There was enough to worry about as it was. Please send my gratitude to Lord Darius, please. On her nod, Maxime stated, if there's nothing else, I'll be in my office, Corin. Oh, members who live outside of the colony have been notified of things, and some will be arriving as early as tomorrow. Maxime nodded, barely keeping everything bottled up. Pushed down. More people to deal with. He sighed, his bones aching. That's for the you of tomorrow to handle. Thank you, Corin. You've done well. Maxime didn't wait to hear her response, and he ducked and dodged those who tried to vie for his attention. Later, he promised them hastily. Finally, slamming the door to his office, closing out responsibilities, celebrations, and noise left Maxime free to face the abject exhaustion and grief he'd kept at bay for the past 3 months. He tossed the stack of papers in the direction of the desk, uncaring where or how they landed. Dropping to the center of the rug, curling himself into the smallest ball he could make, Maxime allowed his floodgates to open, weeping until he couldn't feel anything at all.
I beg your finest damn pardon.
Was it?
Dun dun dun! Now, no offense to the other shifter writers or whatever, but this had my fancy $2 and $5 words in it. I like my fancy $2 and $5 words.
Fitzer would like to call the story too short error.
Yes, agree. I can't wait. I don't. Oh, this was. I don't know if this is connected to the other. I have no idea, but. I want more. I want more. I mean, I want more of all of it, y'all. But I'm just like, sometimes something will just like. Yes, exactly, Doc. The details, the just like I could picture the hall with the blue and the white and the icicle statues, snowflake statues, and just like I felt like I was walking through this communion house or this and seeing the opulence and maybe smelling the winter solstice spices that are like there wasn't even a lot of smelling sensory, but there was other things, the sounds and the sights, and just suddenly everything else came with that. Okay. Was that the last one? Because oh dear God,
Yes,
the
yes,
iron.
that was the last
Okay, okay, y'all.
That was the last one for this week. And you know what next week is? You know what next week is?
We finally
Next
get
week
to
is the
reveal.
Week of the anonymous, which me and Izzy will talk offline how we're going to be doing that. So yes, the reveal is next week. So but yes, me and Izzy will be talking offline how we're going to be unmasking everyone for next week.
So get your
It is amazing.
guesses in.
Everybody's
If you want to guess, go over to January Fresh Ink. Right, there's some
Yes.
summaries. I completely forgot to do last night, so we'll see if I am able to go back through and maybe do some summaries of which submitter did what. And guess away. I can't wait to see who you guys all think, and we still have one more, right? So, oh my.
I do believe we are not revealing anyone until Sunday
February 1st.
after everybody has been read out.
Yes.
So you will have one last shot. Again, this is the last week when you submit to tell us if you wish to remain anonymous going forward, or if you want. Are we unveiling in numerical order? That's another thing that me and Izzy will be talking about off show. But we will get back to you on that information. Please go to the Discord for all information. This will probably be also linked in the Fresh Ink channel on how we are going to proceed next week.
Also,
but what I was saying,
feel free, real quick, before we go on to a different topic. Feel free, if you've got suggestions, things that you think that we should consider on ways to do that, please let us know. Throw them in the general
that's
chat.
what the channel says.
Or even in the January, just to keep it compartmentalized. Yeah. Let's be frank. Julie and I do all of this by the seat of our pants, and we come up with ideas, and then just kind of just throw it at you guys, and there is no plan. Yeah, we try to plan things.
We try. The only thing that's usually planned is usually people's birthday months.
Yeah,
and that's because we know they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
So there that is. Run it by me first. By the way, real quick before we jump off for the night and we do our end out, Sticks and Bitzer, I need you to, if you can be available, I need you to be available. I need to talk both of you. Also need to talk to both of you. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Anywho's, yes, I am so proud. Oh my God. And the fact that we still have one more week of January and we've already busted 100,000 words for the show.
And for our secondary track bear as a writing group. And not everybody is tracking their numbers through track bear, and that's perfectly fine. If you don't want to join, that's okay. But this afternoon, as a writing group, the people who are submitting just their word counts, you don't have to store anything else up there, just word counts. 200,000 words. We are writing fiends. I mean, literally, Bitzer is meeting the 1,000,000-word goal all on their own. The rest of us are just cherries and icing on top at this point.
At this point, yeah.
So, there we go. Any questions from the peanut gallery? Please keep your peanut gallery crap away from Julie.
Yes, we've got the 100,000 or the 200,000. I am so proud of us for that. And it looks like we might have to up our goals sometime very soon.
Right.
We couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you for not only upholding the integrity of the show, but upholding the integrity of your writing. And we love every single one of you. Thank you so much. And even if you have not written for the show, but you come in every week, you hang in the background, you lurk, you throw in the comments, you vote, you do everything you need to do to keep us with spirits high and everything like that. I'm allergic.
That's why I said keep your peanuts away from Julie.
I just looked over and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm allergic. But we could not do any of this without you guys. I mean, we could, but it would be a very short show. Every week, it would be a very short show.
And boring.
And a little boring. Yes, it would. Because we don't have the commentary in the sidelines. And we kind of need the commentary in the sidelines. We need the peanut gallery. I think we're going to call it a macadamia gallery because I'm not literally allergic to those nuts.
That's a mouthful. We'll find something. We'll find
We'll
something.
figure something out. The prompter gallery?
Well, prompters are specifically people who have submitted to the show. Now, once again, we have not, if you are a new prompter, new to us in 2026, we have not changed your color mod permissions on the side because we didn't want to give anything away. So, February 2nd, Julie and I, one of us, maybe one of our other mods, such as Cash, would go in there and update the permissions. So we got the admins, the moderators, the prompters, and members. That's what we got thus far. So I don't know. We'll have to come up with something because I mean, there's a couple of people who are always there, always supporting us, and being there for us and the other writers and have not submitted, or have they? And they don't have anything, special name. So we'll have to see what. Oh, we need a fan name.
That's what
Stray Kids' fandom is called the Stays. Okay. Yo, go into the general chat. Go into the general chat and make some suggestions.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end out. We love you guys. Please have a safe week. If you happen to be in an area that is affected by the storm and you do not have to be on the fucking roads, do not be on the fucking roads. Okay? I do not own a 4-wheel drive anymore, and I am not a phone call away to pull somebody out of a ditch. Okay? We will reevaluate in the spring and hope that Julie can or can get me a side by side or something like that, and I will put a winch on it and I'll be right there. But currently, that's where we're at. Please stay inside, stay warm. Make sure you also bring in your pets. Check on elderly relatives. Make sure everybody's good. That is the most important thing. We need to just wait the damn storm out because as of February 1st, we go right back up into the 60s. Everybody will end up with pneumonia.
One additional thing, we have a thing with this. What's the other thing that you always do on your spiel, your closeout spiel?
Don't add to the population. Don't subtract from the population. If you get your ass arrested, do not call me for bail money because I'm not coming to get your ass.
So here's the thing. We don't want to hear about in 9 months a bunch of people being stuck in the hospital because they're giving birth. Okay? Please stop. Think about what you're doing.
Yeah, I keep getting them all the time. It's like usually a biker and then a baby. It's like in 9 months, are you going to be on a ride, or in 9 months, are you going to be into the delivery room changing diapers? Like, let's make good choices here. And if we're going to make that choice, please wrap it. And
Look,
double wrap it because,
there's a reason I have 2 of my 3 children. There really wasn't anything else to do. Please don't. Please.
If you need something else to do, we have like months worth of content over on YouTube. Go and follow us there too.
And you have keyboards. You have keyboards. Right.
Documents are in this economy. You'd be surprised what happens in this economy.
That's why I said 2 of my 3 children, because only one of them was planned. The other 2 weren't not planned, but
semantics.
Yeah.
That economy wasn't great either.
If you need to do something, there's always Minecraft.
No, because that mucks with my internet. No. All right, I'm shutting up now.
All right, we're good to go. Remember, next week is our last week of Anonymous. Come back, root for your favorites. Blow up our chat next week because as soon as we get to the end of Sunday, all will be revealed. We'll see you guys next week. Please be safe. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye.
soon enough.